I am a 27-year-old female. My husband is 26. We have 2 children together. We are going on our 6th year living at our home. We have been in the same town for well over 10 years. My parents live in the same town 15 minutes from us, and so did my husband's parents 25 minutes from us, until they moved almost 2 hours away. I'd like to add that we had no idea his parents were even thinking about moving until they had already purchased their new home and already packed up the house they were living in. We stopped by randomly one day because we were right by their house and just wanted to say hi. We were not expecting to walk inside only to see everything packed in boxes. That is when we then learned they were moving almost 2 hours away for the first time. They moved later that week. We have had mixed feelings about this, only because we just had their first grandson, and we also thought they would mention the move sooner than they did. They talked about the new house like it was exactly what they were wanting. Nice home, lots of land, fewer neighbors. Sounds wonderful. What threw me for a loop was them saying that even though they'll be almost 2 hours away, it just meant we were welcome to come stay for a weekend with them and spend time with each other that way, as opposed to just seeing us maybe a couple times a week for dinner or a couple hours either at our home or theirs. My issue with that is expecting that your grown adult children who have their own children would just be totally free or wanting to spend their weekend with them 2 hours away. I would much rather see them throughout the week or whatever it may be, with them in the same town and still actively part of their grandchild's life. Again, I am 27 years old, married, 2 kids, own a home, have pets, have 2 vehicles, have a side business, on top of a job throughout the week. I personally do not see any reason to go spend the night or weekend at my husband's mom's house, in-laws, or even at my own parents' house 15 minutes from mine. I still wouldn't be comfortable doing that. I could see it if we went on a vacation together or if it was a family reunion at a place we rented for that occasion. Then I'd have no problem being away from my own home and spending the night or weekend with family. They did not have to move almost 2 hours away. That's fine that they did, but to expect that we will just come whenever you want us to and stay for as long as you want us to is what I cannot understand. I love them very much and didn't even want them moving away, but I don't have to, nor do I need to stay the night with them, like I'm some teenager still and don't have kids of my own or a home. Needless to say, my own life and priorities, responsibilities, etc. Recently, they had asked my husband about us spending the weekend with them. And as per usual, my husband said sure, but did not even mention it to me until the day of. With it being thrown on me and expecting to leave the same day only hours later, I said I wasn't going to do that. I told him if he really wants to go spend the weekend or night with his mom, then by all means I am not stopping him. But as for me, myself, and I, that is not something I am willing to do. He can go, he can take the kids, or leave them. Either way is fine, but I am not comfortable with spending the night or weekend at their house, which made him upset, and he's decided not to go either. But now I've heard him talking to his mother on the phone, telling her that I do not want to spend the night there, and when she asks why, he says, I don't know why or what her problem is, which makes me feel like he doesn't have my back, and it's weird to me that he even actually wants to stay the night at his parents'. Am I wrong? Am I the jerk? Is it unfair? Am I not allowed to say no? Do grown people still actually go spend the night at their parents' house? Is it disrespectful to decline too? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot for not wanting to stay with them because they moved 2 hours away without your permission. They do not need your permission, although I agree it would have been nice to know about it earlier. However, they don't owe you the courtesy of involving you in this plan. However, you're not the idiot for wanting sufficient notice of weekend plans regardless of where they happen. That's on your husband, though, not your in-laws. If it's not convenient, let them know. Tell your husband he messed up and insist that in the future you get an invitation well in advance. Comment 2. 2 hours is enough to drive back and forth. Why can't they come visit you? I missed the part explaining why you guys are the ones doing the packing up and driving, or why they tried to sneak out of town. It sounds like they actually wanted to get away from family. No one buys a house, packs, and moves the same week you found out without saying anything. Make them come visit you. It's too much to pack up the kids and you guys, and you have much more responsibility. They have all the time in the world. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a hectic couple of weeks, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after the whole mess with my in-laws moving almost 2 hours away and expecting us to spend weekends with them, things took an unexpected turn. My husband, who's usually the peacemaker, got into a huge argument with his parents. It turns out they had been planning this move for over a year and didn't tell anyone because they were worried about our reaction. They wanted a fresh start after my father-in-law's early retirement, which none of us knew about either. The tension between us grew when my husband finally confronted them about the lack of communication. He admitted to me that he felt betrayed by their secrecy and was struggling with the idea of our kids not seeing their grandparents as often. I never knew he felt so strongly about it. He's always been the type to keep his emotions close to the chest. Meanwhile, I was dealing with my own family drama. My parents, who lived just 15 minutes away, were upset that we weren't visiting as often. They didn't understand the stress we were under, juggling work, our side business, and the kids. It seemed like everyone wanted a piece of us, and there was just not enough to go around. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my husband's parents called with an emergency. Their new house, the one they were so excited about, had major plumbing issues. They were in over their heads and needed help. My husband, being the good son he is, decided to go and assist them. I was torn, but decided to stay home with the kids, managing our hectic life. The weekend he was away was tough. I felt guilty for not going, but I also felt like I needed to stand my ground. My husband came back with stories about how the move had been harder on his parents than they let on. They were isolated, the house needed more work than they thought, and they missed us terribly. After hearing this, I had a change of heart. I realized that while I didn't want to spend my weekends away from home, I did want to maintain a good relationship with my in-laws, so I proposed a compromise. We would visit them once a month, but they would also come to us. To my surprise, they agreed, and it seemed like we had finally found some common ground. But the real twist came when my husband's parents visited us the following month. They brought with them a box of old photos and memories, and as we went through them, we discovered letters my husband had written to them as a kid. He had always been close to his parents, and seeing those letters reminded him of the bond they shared. The visit was going well until my mother-in-law accidentally let slip that the real reason they moved was that they felt like we were too dependent on them. They wanted us to have our own space and grow as a family without them hovering. This revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. All this time, I thought they were being selfish, but in reality, they were trying to give us a push to stand on our own. The confrontation that followed was intense. My husband and I expressed how hurt we were by their assumptions and lack of communication. They apologized, and we all had an emotional heart-to-heart. It was a moment of raw honesty that cleared the air and brought us closer together. In the end, justice was served in the most unexpected way. My in-laws decided to sell their new house and move back closer to us. They realized that being near family was more important than living on a large piece of land with fewer neighbors. They found a lovely place just 30 minutes away, and we've been seeing them regularly on our terms. My husband's gambling blew our savings, so I canceled his cards. He thought he'd outsmart me, but the locked door said otherwise. So I, 29-year-old female, started to date Kevin when I was 20, and he was 21, and 1 year later, we had a daughter together. It was unexpected, of course, but we chose to keep the baby and give her all we had. We got married just a month afterward. Half a year after she was born, my boyfriend passed away due to an accident. It was devastating, and I still miss him to this day. He was the sweetest guy, and even though he was young, he was so centered and determined. As soon as I gave birth, he made sure to do everything related to the baby until I fully recovered and he helped with everything. I know it's what someone is supposed to do, but there are not many men who actually do it. And he even helped me get in shape again. He didn't press for me to do it, I just needed to. And well, he was simply the best. But after he passed, I was completely messed up. I had little help. My parents died when I was young, and his parents were pretty old and sick, only from my friends. I was devastated and exhausted all the time. I could barely shower since my baby cried a lot. I used almost all the money from his life insurance to buy a small apartment, but with 2 bedrooms so we didn't have to pay rent. The rest I saved for my daughter. I got a part-time job since I couldn't work so many hours with my daughter Kiara, but it was still too much work. This is where Anna, my boyfriend's little sister, showed up. She was 14 at the time, and she helped me a lot by taking care of Kiara. I offered to pay her since she was taking her to the park and taking care of her a few hours a day, but she completely refused, telling me Kiara is her niece, and she just enjoyed taking care of her. She even gave me some old clothes from when she was a baby for my girl. When she was 15, she got a job, and I realized she would buy ice cream and candy for Kiara a few times. She also got a nice boyfriend of her age, and they would spend time together in my apartment or at the nearby park. Kiara loves them very much, even though they broke up eventually, but they got back together last year. Anyway, all the time Anna spent with Kiara helped me. I got back to studying gastronomy. I had only a year left, and afterward, I got a job in a restaurant and I began to make plenty of money. Then I received an offer to work for a better restaurant, so I made a lot of money because the payment was really great. And at that work, I met my current husband, Leo, 30. So like I said, I'm not rich, but I do make a lot of money, at least compared to what I used to do. My husband also earns a lot, but we keep our accounts separated. Long story short, a couple of weeks ago, Anna graduated. I was really proud, since I know how hard she's been working for this. She doesn't own much, and she has trouble getting to her new job since it's pretty far away. And since I'm now making quite some money, I decided to give her a good gift because she deserves it, and she gave me a hand in my hardest time. I bought a motorcycle for her. She loves motorcycles, and she was really happy. And making someone like her happy is definitely worth it. The issue here is my sister-in-law, Mary, 18F. Mary is this annoying brat who was always mean to me for no reason since I met her, so I desisted from trying to get along with her. When she found out about me giving Anna a motorcycle, she went nuts and demanded that I do the same for her since Anna isn't really family. I told her I wasn't going to do that ever, but she insisted, and I told her to stop being a brat. And I told her that I gave Anna the motorcycle because she gave me a hand in my hardest time, and the only thing I got from her were insults and snarky comments, so I would rather throw money on a volcano than buy her a motorcycle. I also said that Anna was more of a family to me than she could ever be. My husband is on my side, and so is my mother-in-law, but the rest of his family isn't, and they're calling me a jerk. This is kind of generating a mess in their family, and I honestly wonder if I took things too far by putting on the same level as a teenager. I wouldn't have reacted that way if she hadn't said that Anna wasn't family, because she is, and she will always be, to me and to my daughter. However, am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. And Anna is your family. She is your daughter's aunt and behaves like a family member with you. It's good to know your husband and his mom support your decision and respect your family circle. Comment 2. Not the idiot and don't stoop to her level. No is a complete sentence. And for the people who are angry with you, tell them all to pitch in and buy the brat a bike. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the support and advice. A lot has happened in the past 3 days, and I'm still trying to process it all. So after the whole motorcycle gift drama with Mary, things took a turn for the unexpected. Remember how I mentioned Anna's on and off boyfriend? Well, it turns out that during one of their off periods, he and Mary had a secret fling. And by fling, I mean they were seeing each other behind Anna's back. I found out because Mary, in a fit of rage over the motorcycle, blurted it out to hurt Anna. It was a mess. Anna was heartbroken, and I was furious that Mary would stoop so low. But here's where it gets even crazier. Anna's ex, let's call him Jake, came over to apologize to Anna and try to win her back. He admitted everything to me first, saying he regretted it and that it was a huge mistake. He was desperate, saying Anna was the one for him. I was skeptical, but I let him talk to Anna because I thought she deserved to hear it from him. Anna, being the kind-hearted person she is, decided to hear him out. They had a long talk in the park where they used to hang out. I wasn't there, but Anna told me later that it was emotional and intense. In the end, she told him she needed time to think. Meanwhile, Leo, my husband, was getting pressure from his family to make me apologize to Mary for calling her a brat. I refused, of course. Leo was stuck in the middle, but he stood by me, which caused some tension at his family gatherings. I felt bad for him, but I wasn't about to let Mary's behavior slide. Now let's talk about Leo for a second. He's always been a private person, and I respect that. But with all the family drama, I started noticing he was more stressed than usual. I thought it was just the family issues, but then I found out he was hiding something from me. It turns out, before we met, Leo had a gambling problem. He had it under control, or so I thought. But with the stress, he started gambling again, and he lost a significant amount of money. He was planning to tell me, but the family drama pushed it back. I was shocked. We had separate accounts, but we're a team, and this was a big deal. We had a long, hard conversation about trust and honesty. He promised to seek help, and I agreed to support him through it. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I love him, and we've been through so much together. Back to Anna, she decided to forgive Jake, but she set some serious ground rules for their relationship. She also confronted Mary, and it was a scene straight out of a soap opera. Anna told Mary that she was disappointed in her and that she needed to grow up. Mary didn't take it well and stormed off, but I think Anna's words hit home. In the midst of all this, I've been trying to keep things stable for Kiara. She's been asking about all the arguing and why Auntie Anna is sad. I've done my best to explain things in a way she can understand, without exposing her to the adult drama. My best friend chose a church over me, so I cut her off. She's back with excuses, but when her sister suffers too, she'll regret it. I, 21-year-old female, was best friends with a girl I met at church. Autumn, 20-year-old female. We met when we were 10 years old, clicked instantly, and swore we'd be each other's bridesmaids. This story takes place when we were around 15 years old. The church we attended together is a Korean church. However, there was a white male teacher in our youth group because his wife was Korean. He was about 70 years old in the story I'm about to tell. The male teacher, we will call him Jacob, was reputable among the teen girls, as we all hated him. Very often, he would comment on our clothing or body types weirdly. Not only this, but he would push racial stereotypes onto us. This worsened over time, and unfortunately, I was the main victim. Some examples of the things he said include telling me that ripped jeans are distracting, asking me if I was wearing a scarf to cover my hickey, telling me to eat a burger, telling me that I can eat all the candy in the world I want with that tiny body, pushing the narrative that I would marry a Korean man and that my parents are tiger parents. He said such things to me when I was 12-15, which caused me to feel very unsafe, uncomfortable, and insecure at church. As my dad has a job at the church, he threatened that he would quit, which would very negatively impact the church if Jacob was not expelled. However, even as the deacons and head pastor went on to expel him, they put pressure on my 15-year-old self to reconcile with Jacob so he could return. It turns out his permanent expelling was a lie, and we were told after 3 months he would be able to return. Immediately, my family made the decision to leave the church completely. After over 6 years of attending there, as soon as we moved to the city the church is in. Throughout all of this, Autumn took the church's side. As someone who valued her reputation as the nice church girl a ton, seeing her best friend cause a mess and gossip to spread only angered her, as the church was already struggling in the first place. Autumn's family was also super close to the head pastor family, who not only lied to my family about expelling J-Bob, but also told the church that my dad had abandoned the church and his job, and that my family had failed to be Christians as we were not showing grace, forgiveness, and love to Jacob. Because of all of this, I cut off Autumn. It was really hard, and I suffered years of church trauma and hurt, not only because of Jacob and how it felt that all the church leaders had turned on me, but also because my own best friend at the time had taken all their sides. To her, her reputation at church was more important than my safety. We went years without talking, but recently, on my 21st birthday, her and a couple other friends I had left behind messaged me. They gave me warm wishes and asked for forgiveness, along with asking to meet. I ignored all of these messages and requests. These people had not been there for me during one of my most vulnerable and tough times with religion growing up, so I have no thought of ever letting them back into my life. So am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Always cut people like that off. You had a close call with Jacob. People like that commit intimacy attack against women. There are many Korean churches and non-Korean churches of the same denomination, so if the Korean church tolerates the abuse of Korean girls, find a different parish or church. Comment 2. Not the idiot. What the church did was unforgivable. Your friend was a 15-year-old teenager back then, and judging from your post, she was under a lot of family pressure. Maybe you want to hear her out? Most people grow a lot between 15 and 21. Your call, you should do what feels best for you. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a week since I shared my story, and boy, do I have some updates for you. So after I ignored Autumn's message on my birthday, I thought that would be the end of it. But no, she didn't take the hint. Instead, she showed up at my workplace with a coffee in hand, trying to act all sweet and apologetic. It was like she was trying to recreate one of our old coffee dates from back in the day. I was shocked, to say the least. I mean, we hadn't seen each other in years, and the last time we did, it wasn't exactly under the best circumstances. I couldn't believe she had the nerve to just waltz in, like nothing had happened. But there she was, standing in front of me with those puppy dog eyes, expecting me to just forgive and forget. I had to take a deep breath to keep myself from losing it right there in front of my coworkers. I asked her to leave, but she wouldn't budge. She started going on about how she had changed, how she realized she was wrong for not standing by me during the whole Jacob ordeal. She even said she had left the church too, after another incident with Jacob made her see the light. Apparently, he had made some inappropriate comments to her younger sister, and that was the last straw for her family. They finally saw Jacob for who he really was. I was floored. All those years, she had chosen the church over our friendship, and now she was telling me she had left because of something that happened to her sister? It felt like a slap in the face. I couldn't help but wonder if she would have ever reached out if her sister hadn't been involved. But wait, it gets even crazier. Remember how I mentioned my dad had threatened to quit his job at the church if they didn't expel Jacob? Well, turns out my dad had been keeping his own secrets. After we left the church, he confided in me that he had been gathering evidence against Jacob for years. He had a whole file of complaints and incidents involving Jacob that other members had brought to him. He had been planning to take it to the church board, but when the whole situation with me blew up, he used it as leverage to get Jacob expelled. And here's the jaw-dropping twist. My dad wasn't the only one collecting dirt on Jacob. The head pastor's wife, who had always seemed so sweet and supportive, had been doing the same. She had her own reasons for wanting Jacob gone. And it wasn't just because of his behavior towards the girls in the youth group. It turns out she and Jacob had a history that went back to before she married the head pastor. They had been involved, and she was worried that Jacob would spill the beans and ruin her reputation and her husband's career. So, when my dad threatened to quit and presented his evidence, the head pastor's wife saw an opportunity. She convinced her husband to go along with the expulsion, thinking it would solve all their problems. But when Jacob started making threats of his own, revealing what he knew about his past with the pastor's wife, they panicked and backtracked on their decision, hence the lie about his permanent expulsion. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All this time, there had been so much more going on behind the scenes than I ever knew. And to think, Autumn had been caught up in all of it too, choosing to side with the church that was so deeply flawed. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.